It'll be the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series taking center stage, and one of the drivers in the mix will be the driver of the International Trucks Monaco RV Toyota. That would be Mike Skinner joining us live in studio. How are you, pal?
Hey, Mike.
I'm great, man. How you doing this morning, guys?
Good. How are you?
Wonderful.
Just telling me you're a little under the weather this week. You feeling okay?
Yeah, I'm feeling great. I sprained my back somehow a couple weeks ago, and so I've been a little bit under the weather, but not. I'm not sick. I'm just a little sore.
Right. Doing some work around the house?
Yeah, I was helping getting my lovely wife Angie, some potting soil, and I went for the great big bag instead of 3 little bags, and thought I was 18 years old and tossed it over my shoulder and like a real stud. Now I'm like a real wimp.
Well, but at least you're doing your own horticulture work around the house, unlike this guy up in Chicago.
Well, Mike, you need to get a guy like I have. You got to get a guy. He'll take care of it for you.
I got a guy, but when Angie says to go do something, I got a girl too,
Yeah.
and I kind of like to keep her.
When Mama talks,
yeah,
things happen.
Angie and Michelle, my wife, are on the same plan. Trust me. Yeah.
Can get a little dicey at times.
Well, we were talking to Horn today before you came on, and it's been, let's be honest, it's been a rough start of the year for you, Mike. You've been caught up in a lot of stuff, not of your own doing.
Well, we were talking about that the other day, and it's like, when you self-inflict these wounds, you kind of go stick your head in the sand, and you really have to soul search and figure out. I think I got busted, a few years ago, 3 or 4 weeks in a row, speeding on pit road and doing stupid stuff, and had good trucks. And, when you're self-inflicting them, it's really, really hard. But we've ran up front every race. We've had a winning truck at Daytona. We had a top 5 truck in these other races. Last week at Martinsville, Gene Need did something very, very brilliant. I didn't think so at the time, but we had 45, 50-lap fresher tires and everybody, and we were coming.
See,
and
how do you swallow that pill? You got fresh tires. You're plowing your way to the front, and all of a sudden the Sauter Hornaday dust-up happens, and you're right in the middle of it.
Well, I had Ron passed, and he kept blasting into the side of me trying to cut my tire down and stuff, so I just backed off and let him go. And I asked him. He called me the next day, and Ron hit on it. We've had our ups and downs, but at the end of the day, we're like family. He really pisses me off sometimes, and I'm sure it's vice versa. But I asked him. I said, "Did your spotter, by the chance, bother to tell you I had new tires on?" "Well, no, I didn't know that." I'm like, "Well, how do you think I ran you guys down so fast?" And sometimes a driver just don't get the whole picture or see the whole picture, and we were running lap times faster than Harvick at the time when we were running them down until we caught them. And, Harvick clearly had the best truck, but we clearly had the freshest tires. And give me 4 fresh Goodyears with 50 to go and look out, because we're going to be coming.
We've heard a lot about the Sauter Hornaday back-to-back last week, and obviously you were swept up in it as well. Your take on all that, the reactions from them to each other, the reactions of hard racing, the reactions to have at it boys, and, well, you heard Ron say Sauter's called his shot. You got one coming.
Hell, I owe both of them. And they probably owe me from somewhere. So, but, I try not to go to the racetrack focusing on who I owe a wreck to or who I owe something to. I come here to try to win the race for International Trucks and Monaco RVs, Exide, PC Mile, all my sponsors, Toyota, XM, all my people. That's what I'm here for. I'm not here to wreck Ron Hornaday or Johnny Sauter or anybody else for that matter. We're here to try to represent our sponsors and our manufacturer and do our job. And I feel like I think it was Gary Nelson told us in a rookie meeting years and years ago, if you go to the racetrack carrying that around with you, it's like putting an extra 100 pounds on your race car, and it's not going to run very good with extra 100 pounds on it.
And that's well said, but at the same time, do you keep a mental scorecard?
Oh, I have a complete log, yeah. Yeah.
Look at this guy. He's got a manifest.
Yeah. But you don't go wreck somebody to run 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 8th, whatever. You wait till you can get in their pocket. You wait till you take a win from them.
I think it's interesting, the story you tell last week. You and Hornaday had a little bit of an issue on the racetrack, but the minute you're off the track, he's talking to you, you're talking to each other. Why is there such camaraderie in the Truck Series, Mike? I mean, I gotta be honest with you. I think there's probably some in the Sprint Cup Series and the Nationwide Series. I don't see it like I see it in the Camping World Truck Series garage.
Well, Ron mentioned Jack earlier, and Jack was the one that was so funny because if you ran into Jack, he didn't talk to you for 3 months. if Ron or I ran into each other, we're liable to be having a cold beer or a Diet Coke or something over at the motor coach later on. So
Right after the race.
a lot of times, yeah. And we'd be in each other's face wanting to rip each other's lungs out, and then 30 minutes later, it's kind of like a marriage, you know. If you separated from your wife, every time you got in an argument, you'd have an awful lot of divorces going on. You'd be buying a lot of houses. So you got to work through these things, and you just go on. And you know, I think that you know, Johnny had a pretty good truck, and when his tires were fresher, he was a second place truck. But at that point in time, he was probably a fourth or fifth place truck with track position. So, you know, you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them. And Hornaday, he had a better truck right there.
And there has to be something to be said for you guys were around at the start of this thing. I mean, you were the inaugural champion back in '95, and obviously Ron's won his share of titles too, and you guys have won races, you won poles. But there has to be, in my mind, some kind of camaraderie. I know I feel it with you guys and with other media members who have been in the Truck Series since its inception. And when you're going to places like Tucson Raceway Park, and you're going to Evergreen Speedway, not necessarily metropolitan areas, you have a tendency to kind of hang out together. We used to have Monopoly tournaments at Monroe every year. We'd bring the Monopoly game, we'd sit in the hotel, we'd order pizza and all that stuff. So you get to know the people you're racing against, and as with any friendship or relationship, you hit bumps in the road, but at the end of the day, you still care for each other, you're still friends, you're still buddies, etc.
Well, you find out who those people are, and they're, unfortunately, I can count them on one hand, but you know, you find out when you have a wreck like I had at Charlotte last year. You know, Todd Bodine, Ron Crawford. There's a handful of people there that call you 2 or 3 times and, hey, are you okay? Lindy Hornaday was at the hospital. You know, her and Angie showed up at the same time saying, hey, are you okay? You going to be all right? And you know, that's where the family is right there. You know. And whether you wrecked each other or somebody else wrecked you, you know, we all want to beat each other really, really bad. And I think what you see in the Camping World Truck Series, the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series right now, is how Cup used to be back in the day.
Bingo.
And you know, I really missed that when I ran Cup. I didn't. That's why I'm back here doing this. And I call this semi-retirement. The schedule's a little easier. We still get to go camping, we get to go racing, we get to represent our sponsors and have a great time, but that camaraderie is priceless.
Before I get over to Pete, you can speak on both sides of the aisle. You've been in trucks, you've been in Sprint Cup full-time. You used to drive for Richard Childress. A lot of folks may not know, you used to drive the 31 Lowe's car for Childress. The worlds are different, aren't they? The Cup garage is a totally different world than the truck garage.
It really is, and you know, I have good relationships with a lot of the tracks and a lot of the people at tracks, and a lot of times I can get my bus into the Cup lot where I can get plugged in or whatever, and there's a lot of places we just choose not to because it's too stuffy, and they're too professional. Doggone it, they need to let their hair down once in a while and have some fun.
That's right. Relax and enjoy themselves a little bit more.
Well, I'll talk about enjoying yourselves. What about Nashville Super Speedway, Mike? Is that a track you enjoy, and what do you look for tonight?
I love Nashville. I love Nashville Super Speedway. I've got a lot of friends in the music business. We always come a couple days early. Night before last, had dinner with Stacy Mitchart, and then we got in the car and went over to this little place in Bo Bice, and 3 other songwriters and singer-songwriters was over there having a roundabout, and we sat there for hours and listened to them play music. And it's an awesome place. The speedway is an awesome speedway. We've had this race won a couple of times, and I told the story yesterday. I said, you know, I had a 4 or 5 second lead on second place with 4 or 5 laps to go, and I think somebody flipped a cigarette butt on the racetrack, and that darn caution came out. For some way, we left here without the guitar. But the guy that hit me didn't leave with it either, so it's okay.
By the way, do you know that young lady right there?
I surely do. I surely do.
It's a fine young lady right there. We're talking about Winona.
Yes, sir.
She was at the Predators game last night.
Yeah, Bagman was in. Look at him. He was with the big shots last night, Mike.
Well, she used to come hang out at some NASCAR races. She's been in the 31 hauler a few times back in the days, and she is an awesome talent.
What kind of music do you like? What kind of music do you and Angie listen to?
We listen to a lot of country music. We listen to a lot of rock and roll. I listened to a lot of earlier rock and roll back in my era, but it's still popular today. And so I think today's country is a lot like softer rock was back then. I don't even want to say softer rock, like rock was back then. So I like all kinds of music, to be honest with you, but love coming to Nashville, man. I don't do a whole lot of crying your beer stuff. Songs that I try to play on the guitar is usually those depressing songs because they're the only ones I can do with 3 chords.
Do you miss racing over at the old bull ring here?
Yeah, a little bit. I miss places like this. I miss Monroe, Washington. I miss, Louisville. There was just Tucson was awesome. I mean, we do miss those places, but NASCAR has to keep this show on the road, has to keep people coming, and I hate it for those little tracks. I mean, Mansfield was one of my best places that we love to go. We love to go where there's good camping, where we have a good coach lot. We got a great one here.
Tucson. I've told the story a couple times. Pistol Pete, did I ever tell you the story about the pool thing with Skinner at Tucson?
No.
Oh, come on. You're going to blow my cover again.
Come on, let's hear it.
No, I mean, this guy can shoot pool like you wouldn't believe.
Really?
No.
I didn't know.
I can't see anymore.
No, back in 96 you could see. By the way, you saw that 20 in my hand. I watched it go in your pocket, so don't ever play Skinner in pool. But no, Tucson, I'll never forget this. Back when we had the halfway break, do you still keep the sticks of chewing gum taped to the dash?
Oh yeah, when I moved into the Sprint Cup series, they built me a carbon fiber gum holder. So I had the trick stuff for a while. Now I think I'm back to an aluminum one now. We're on a budget over at Randy Moss Motorsports.
You started with 6 sticks of gum and you ended with 2. And I asked you in Victory Lane that day. You won the race, and I said, "What's up with the 4 sticks of gum? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?" A little rough out there.
Yeah. If you run really, really, really good, you only need 2 pieces.
That's right.
If you run bad and it's really, really hot, you try to keep something going on in your mouth there. Keep some liquid there.
It's funny the driver comforts that are around this sport today, whether it's chewing gum. I mean, some drivers back in the day had cigarettes. I mean, Dick Trickle would duct tape cigarettes to the roll cage.
He had a cigarette lighter in his car.
Lighter and an ashtray.
Yeah.
I said, "Is that NASCAR approved?" I don't care.
Let's hope things turn around for you. Hope your back feels better, from the incident there a couple of weeks ago. Let's see you back in Victory Lane, and I know Randy Moss would love to get back in Victory Lane too.
Well, we really would for our new sponsors, and we just got to keep doing what we're doing. We don't need to change anything. We're running well. We've got some really, really good stuff coming up. We've got a new truck being built right now that Gene and the boys have found some really good things in the wind tunnel, and maybe it'll get us caught up a little bit. I mean, a few years ago, we were kind of where the KHI trucks are right now, and basically I think you could put, there's a lot of guys that could get in those trucks and run up front. Let's put it that way.
All the best tonight, pal.
Thanks, man.
That's Mike Skinner joining us live here at Nashville Super Speedway. The 200-miler tonight for the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series coming your way 7:45 p.m. Eastern Time on the Motor Racing Network and Sirius NASCAR Radio Channel 120.